Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Max Ivy, and y'all all know me as the Blind Blogger. And this is another episode of What's Your Excuse? Where hopefully by the end of my time with my guest today, you will be asking yourself, if she can do it, if Max can do it, then what is my excuse? And so you can find out more about the show over at theblindblogger.net. That's also where you can purchase my books, Leading You Out of the Darkness into the Light, or It's Not the Cookie, It's the Bag. Okay, Carol Pepino, and I'm probably going to get that wrong at least once or twice today, is known as Connector Carol, the caregiving road warrior, and she spreads a message of caring for yourself, your family, and those around you while she travels across the country in a very small space. She is out there in an RV. As I understand it, about 5-6 years ago, her husband had a stroke, and she decided this was the easiest way to care for him and herself. And so we're going to talk more about how this got started, what it's like to live in such a confined space as you travel the country, and also whatever else that Carol is up to today. So hi, Carol. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Max. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to come on, for agreeing to reschedule, and the fact that you're a friend of Jan Moore's, who is a big supporter of Team Ivy, I would be crazy not to want to talk to you. So I'm really glad we finally made this happen. And like I said in the beginning, let's start with, how did you end up, you and your husband, traveling the country in a RV?
Well, it is an interesting journey we've been on. My husband had a massive stroke. It was a left brain stroke, so he's unable to really speak and have a conversation with you. It was 6 years ago, February 18th, 2011. And it was, I would say, now I look back and I go, wow, this is like my worst nightmare that night. Him having his stroke and me just what's going to happen now, because I knew that I was going to have the last normal conversation with my husband, probably forever, let alone whether he'd make it through the night. And it was pretty difficult. The 96 hours that I went through, just, wondering if he was even going to make it. So I basically, he made it through that night, and I just kept on thinking, what are we going to do? We've lost everything. We lost our house, financial, stress got to my husband. That's what caused his stroke, dehydration, stress. And basically, he was a construction worker, and his business fell apart after this happened. So nobody was there to take and pick up the pieces for him at all. And nor could I do it, because I actually was working a job. And a month later, my boss came up to the hospital and said I no longer have a job. So now I'm not only homeless, living at the hospital with my husband, pretty much just, by his side, being an advocate, because I really believe that we have to be an advocate for our loved ones. And because I had to be his voice. And but now I've lost my job. And now major hospital bills, because our insurance was no longer valid. It was pretty scary time for us and for me. And I mean, I can't even imagine what he feels like, or felt like that at that moment, just really alone and scared. And so, you know what, though? I just kept on looking to the positive and just knowing that God is there with me. And I just kept on praying and saying, you know what, God, if there's anything that you can do, right now is a time that I could use your assistance. And boy, I have really come together and really created something for my husband and I. And when you ask why a tiny home on wheels, well, really, because, people ask me, they're like, oh my gosh, how are you doing that? I have, I'm a caregiver, and I'm taking care of my husband or wife or whoever, and we live in a 3-bedroom house, and we're having a tough time. Well, it's pretty challenging, especially not being handicap accessible, but we've learned how to accomplish whatever we needed to do. My thing was, we did get into a home. We were renting, and I just seen my husband just really kind of deteriorating from the medications, and that was making him dizzy and crazy, and to just doing nothing and wasting away. And I'm like, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? I said, why don't we go on the road and see the people that we know and trust and love, and because there's so many people in this country that, in the United States, it's huge, and we have people all over the place. So I just decided, let's do it, Bill. And he's like, done. Like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with Carol, connectorcarol.com, the caregiving road warrior. And I don't know if Jan mentioned this to you or not, but my family used to travel with a carnival. So we would spend 40 or 50 weeks a year in a travel trailer. And I can remember having to try to run my online business from the road, having to deal with the internet, either outages altogether or speed that was so slow you couldn't really use it, dead cell areas, not having access to water or sewer some of the times. So does the space make it easier or harder to deal with your husband and his illness?
You know what? To me, that's a really good question. It's hard for me to answer that right at this moment with just a yes or, easy or fast or not. But what basically for me, it's wherever Bill is and we're together, we're soulmates. And we are so connected that it doesn't matter if we do have water or power and whatnot. We just, oh, well, what's next? What do we do now? So it doesn't matter. We could be under a bridge and we would be absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's that whole us against the world mentality that comes from being with people that you care about and having to just figure out a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly how big is your RV, and what kind of condition is it in? Are we talking 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s?
It's a 1995 Class C. It's a 31 foot. It has a bedroom in the back. When we got it 4 years ago, I was paying payments on it. I got it paid off. But we've had our challenges, but we love this space. We love it. Could it be better? Absolutely. And that we will talk a little bit more about that. But, we've been dealing with all adversity and overcoming that of, what else is possible is what we just keep on saying, because we're on a mission to share with people and share our story and let them know that you don't have to just sit back and say, now that this has happened, we can't go for our dreams. Because that was one of the things that I was crying. I was like, oh my gosh, our dreams were to create, some kind of a healing center, spiritual healing center. And now we can't do that. Well, no, that's not the truth. I kept on getting messages from angels, or somebody was giving me messages saying, no, you can do this, and you can do this on the road. You can do this wherever you're at. And so that's what I do. Is I'm actually, a spiritual, intuitive healer. I assist people in so many ways, whether it's helping them downsize and do what we're doing, or maybe they just need some assistance in that, decluttering that brain, that monkey brain that we have inside of us. So.
Yeah. When I watch every once in a while, I'll be in a doctor's office or something. They'll have one of those shows on that talks about people moving into small spaces, and I'll always get a kick out of it, because no matter what number they come up with, whether it's 307, whether it's 400, 450, 500 square feet, I just sit there and I go, me and 3 other people and a dog used to live in 375,
Right.
So
Right.
For these couples to be all excited about moving into 4, I know that's a big adjustment for those people, and decluttering in general is a big adjustment for a lot of people. But I just get a laugh when I get a good laugh out of it when I hear people talking about how small a space they're moving into, and it's still bigger than most RVs.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah. So what exactly, or what are some of the things that you teach people to help them declutter their lives, minds, and spaces?
Absolutely. Well, what I do is I do what I call ego management. I use that tool and several other tools to assist my clients. I pretty much can mentor, or I do, just one-on-one sessions. I do my sessions over the phone. So basically, I'm kind of like a life coach, but I can help people clear out the clutter. I do clearings on them if they choose. I can help them manage that ego. And, ego, I feel a lot of people, may or may not know what that is. Some people think it's just that, oh, I'm not egotistical. Well, no, it's not about that. We all have an ego. And it's whether we allow that ego to be, running us in a negative manner, or if we choose to stay in a positive manner. And so really assist people in getting into the power of themselves and really truly living their dreams and going for it no matter what's going on in their life. So just because they're a caregiver now doesn't mean they have to give up on themselves.
Is there one exercise you can have people do that will let them know if they're a person who's high or low on ego in their lives?
Oh, absolutely. I think the main thing is that just the exercise would be really asking questions and, what is it that what feels light or heavy to me? And really what I mean by that is that if you feel very heavy in your heart and you've got, about maybe a question that, should I be going this way or should I be going that way? Or should I eat this or should I eat that? I mean, it's that simple of asking questions of your body, your soul, your mind, your heart. And if you get a heavy feeling around it, it's like you probably shouldn't be doing it. It's probably more of that negative rather than the positive of where, because really fear and love cannot live in the same place. So it's really looking for that lightness of the love within our heart.
Right. So, and you do your coaching over the phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the clients you have, are they mostly in the U.S. or are they generally around the world, are many of them also traveling in RVs like you are?
Right now I've done pretty much all ages of people, and whether it's no matter where they're at. It's very interesting. I have a lot of clients that are just looking to me for assistance in just really being more authentic to themselves, and not necessarily in any geographic area, because I do have clients from all over the world. I am not necessarily in a tiny home. So it's just very interesting how people are gravitating to maybe the idea of possibly downsizing to a tiny home because of my stories. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Right. When I first started thinking about interviewing, I was thinking to myself that decluttering and downsizing in a home is something we used to expect from empty nesters, from people making it to retirement age who no longer have a use for all that space. But now it's become more about mental health than it is about age, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. I have more people that ask me, wow, Carol, not how are you, but where are you? And I live vicariously through you. And I wish I could be as brave as you to go out and do what you're doing. And it's just somebody that's just, they don't know how to let go of their job. And they're seriously just looking at, wow, how did you do that? What did, and I do work from the road, I have another job too. So it's very interesting how their perception out there in the world is that you have to stay in one place, and you really don't. there's a lot of people that are doing it just like me.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear that you are setting that example that people don't have to let their physical circumstances get in the way of going after their dreams any more than they let their emotional or personal circumstances get in the way of going after the dreams. I was trying to think. um, I was going to ask you about, you mentioned that people talk about how did you have the courage to go for that? And I just wonder if, like a lot of other people I've talked to, that you don't really, do you really see what you're doing as brave or courageous?
You know, to me, well, no, I really don't, because that's a really good question.
Uh,
Because I just went with it. It was like, why not go after my dreams? You know, I love to travel and I love to drive, and I do all the driving. My husband can't read or write yet. I take care of him in all aspects, and he, you know, he's a happy camper, literally. And I feel like we are just, you know, we are living a dream, even though we have certain situations that most people would not look at it that way.
right, right.
You know what I'm talking about,
Well,
right?
I asked the question that way purposely because it's one of those things that people say to me all the time, and it's one of those things that sometimes still causes a little bit of discomfort with the idea of people going, you know, you're brave or you're courageous or you're inspirational, and I accept it a whole lot more than I used to. But there are still times when, you know, when the right person says it, and you go, okay, that person is so much farther up there that I'm not sure they even know I'm down here, but yet they think of me as inspirational. So sometimes that happens. And that's why I asked you, do you think of what you're doing as especially brave? Because I find that most people doing something like this, from the inside, they generally do not see what they're doing as being anything all that special or amazing or courageous or any of those words you'd want to use.
Right. Absolutely. It's, you know, just doing what you want to do. I really have learned that life is too short. And that was one of the things that I told my husband. I'm like, life is too short. We realized that. We almost lost him, you know, not just once, but it's been a couple of times. And, you know, it's just such an incredible planet that we live on, to not go out and just go and see the people that we know and love and be in that space of loving and embracing.
Okay, so before I forget to ask, since somebody will probably wonder why I didn't, where are you this week?
I am in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, so you're about 150 miles or so west of where I would normally be. And, you know, this week myself, I am in a town called Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which I'm still trying to learn how to pronounce properly. And next week I'm headed to Buffalo by way of Amtrak, which is the way I've been traveling. So I'm doing my thing on the train, and I'm finding it an adjustment to figure out when to record stuff, when to post stuff, and I haven't even started to wrap my head around laundry yet. So I'm still taking those baby steps from way back there, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm with Carol, connectorcarol.com, the caregiving road warrior, and I'm just thinking by what I've read from you so far, that did you take a different approach to helping your husband recover from his stroke than what other people would have done? Did y'all do anything special as far as medicine?
I did. I did. And, you know, the thing that I realized, that I had to question everything when I was that advocate of his in the hospital. I questioned the doctors of the medication, because he was he was getting really dizzy from all the meds that they were giving him. And I just said, are any of these keeping him alive? And the doctor said, no. I said, oh, well, isn't that interesting? So why does he have to take this, and this? And he went through every single one of them, and he said, but statistics say that he will probably live longer if he takes all of these things. And I said, well, you know, I think we should probably see what that's really about, if it really does affect him, because it's about quality of life right now for Bill. And so I actually asked my husband. He's very well aware of what's going on and how he's feeling. Like, okay, do you like the way this feels? No, that kind of thing. And so I just kind of with asking the questions of how he's doing, and if he liked how that medication made him feel, we determined that he really didn't need those. So I don't suggest people go out and take people off their medications, but ask questions and be that advocate and question everything, because quite honestly, he now is not on any medication. He does take an aspirin every day, and just because of blood clots, just a little bit worried about possible blood clots coming up for future. And but I have him on natural supplements and incredible products that, even in our home, I use non-toxic cleaning supplies, and all of our shampoos, everything that we use is all eco-friendly and non-toxic.
Well, that's good to hear. And do
Yeah.
you, and I think I remember that you sell quite a few of these products through your website. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, yes, I do market them. And it's quite interesting how we can make extra money out there versus, just going to the store and buying things. It's basically affiliate marketing and direct sales. And it's quite, I've handpicked several products that work incredible for my husband and me both. And it's done really well. He's has a clean bill of health for the last 5 years that we've been doing this, and it's a beautiful thing.
Right. Well, I am kind of known for not for fairly often taking a little bit of a selfish approach and asking the guest a question for my own benefit. I'm recently struggling with some neuropathy in the elbow and shoulder, and I was just wondering if you had run across anything in the supplement area that you thought was actually beneficial for something like that.
Yes, actually, I definitely would recommend a couple of my products, but also I can assist with a session as well, which I would love to chat with you about, because what I do is I not only do I help clear emotional, subconscious, things that we're holding on to within our being, but also usually the pain and the things that are happening in our body is from, nutritional minerals, trace minerals that we're not getting in our foods or vitamins, as well as there's something that is holding us back. Maybe it's an emotional piece that's holding that into our physical body, which can really hurt us.
Right. Well, my particular symptoms are numbness in the ring and pinky finger of both hands from time to time. So
great. Well, we can definitely talk about that offline,
right.
Max. I'd love to chat more with you. Mm-hmm. And what I do, Max, just so you're
explain
to the listeners. And to the listeners, what I do is I do a strategy session, which I really kind of go through almost like a health evaluation with somebody and say, hey, do you have any of these kinds of symptoms and this and that? And I send out this prior to a session. My sessions, I just walk people through a meditation, and I work on doing clearings and doing body work, long distance. I use Reiki. I use a modality called Access Consciousness. And together, those and my intuitiveness helps clear the, what is really holding somebody captive within that being. And so it's really quite interesting. But I think that the main thing is getting the evaluation and that strategy session to see what somebody really needs, because every body is different, right?
Right, and we both know that more often than not, the physical ailments are a representation of spiritual, mental, or emotional problems that just haven't been we haven't recognized, or we've refused to accept and recognize.
Exactly. Well, and we may not even know it because it's in that ingrained in our subconscious mind, right?
This is true because there are so many things that we do and we keep doing that we never take the time to really think about, well, why are we doing that or why are we thinking that way?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Comfort comes from repetition. So
Yes.
people generally try to avoid discomfort. So that's not a surprise there. Okay. So again, I'm with Carol Pepino to the connectorcarol.com. And she's the caregiving road warrior. Now, you talk about taking an active part in your husband's medical condition. Have you been out there as far as sharing this? Have you been involved in organizations or other events that I might know about or that would be coming up where people can maybe meet you and learn more about what it is you're doing and how it can help them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually do a workshop that I'm going to be delivering in November at a national caregiving conference in Chicago, November 10th. And the conference is the 10th and the 11th. And my workshop will be it's called Health and Wellness for a Vibrant Life in a Tiny Home. And our tiny home happens to be on wheels. And so I basically share tips and tools with people in this workshop. And I have, done the workshop with, other groups and things like that. But the caregiving conference coming up, they've asked me to speak there. And I'm very honored to be one of their speakers for that conference.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Now, you are out there in a tiny home. And I want to mention it now because if I don't get to it now, I may forget it later. And I try to keep to my time limit, even though my co-host Frederick isn't here to watch my back that way. But I know that you're in the middle, or you just started a GoFundMe campaign to make some improvements to the RV. I don't know if these are to make it easier for your husband, or if there's just some mechanical repairs that need to be done.
Well, actually, the GoFundMe is to get a newer RV that would be handicap accessible. This one we've pretty much outgrown. We're looking for something with a slide, something that's bigger. And we absolutely have had some issues in this rig for sure. Right now, we've got a lot that's not working, but we still love our little home at the moment. So yeah, the GoFundMe is to really, we figure, if we're going to be looking for a new RV, why not get something that's going to be, more handicap accessible. So it doesn't really need to have an outside lift or anything, because he does walk a little bit with a cane.
Right.
So, but it's like there's no grab bars or anything like that. We don't have any kind of modifications to it, and it's a pretty small place. So, so that's what the GoFundMe is all about, and it's really just to help us along the way, because we actually discovered a couple months ago that we ended up having to bomb for termites in a motorhome. Can you believe that? Termites. And
I would have never thought termites in an RV. I just didn't think that happened.
I know, it's crazy. And also at the same time, we discovered black mold, and so we did some cleaning and cleansing of that for a few days, and with some friends of mine. And so we definitely are in need of a new roof over our heads, and we're greatly appreciate any assistance. And on my connectorcarol.com, we also have a donate button on that as well, and any help that anybody can provide, we're out there, and I'm willing to give people sessions or whatever it takes to all work together.
All righty. Well, now I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you if you've already picked out the trailer, or at least have a few in mind, because it's so much easier to do all that work and raise all that money if you know exactly what it is that you're raising it for. So do you have a unit picked out, or a group of them?
I do. It just depends on what brand ends up being available, whatever we choose. I guess wherever the funds are at, because some of them can be pretty pricey, and whether it doesn't really need to be new. We're looking at bigger, probably end up having to have modifications done. Not very many handicap accessible RVs out there. They usually have to have they're modified. So a Class A is what we're looking at. I've got a few pictures of some that I'm looking at, and like I said, it doesn't have to be brand new. It's just anything is newer than what we have, right?
Right, exactly. So what kind of goal do you have for the GoFundMe, the campaign to raise the money? What kind of goal are y'all?
We've got 95,000 on it. Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. I have some experience with homes, and I would say that that's a pretty reasonable budget depending on what just happened. A lot of it will depend on what time of year you end up finishing raising the money.
Exactly.
Because those things are generally cheaper. They're generally cheaper for a few months than they are the whole rest of the year. So that's going to. And I don't know this because I've only done, I think, about 20 episodes. I don't know how large my audience is or how much my reach is, but how about we go a little bigger? How about we say that, yeah, it'd be great to raise 95,000, but if somebody out there listening to me and Carol has a motorhome they want to donate, we would be more than happy to work that out, wouldn't we, Carol?
Oh, absolutely. You bet. You bet, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, as our friend Jan Moore would say, if we're going to do this, we might as well believe that it's going to happen and really do it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just don't want to get in trouble with Jan, but the truth of the matter is that, the whole abundance mindset for the most part does work, and she's got evidence proof that it's worked in her life. So it'd be cool. It would be really amazing if somebody who knows somebody I know or watching this next week or week after when it goes live, if somebody did that, was like, we have an RV, y'all need an RV, let's just figure it out, that would be so amazing.
Absolutely, yes. And what else is possible is what I always say.
Well, what I usually tell people is never put limits on God, but that's my tagline.
Yeah.
So now you're in San Antonio this week. Where are y'all headed to next?
Well, we're actually going to be sticking around here for a little bit. My son and family's here, so I've got some grandkids, and it's a pleasure being here with them. And so we're at an RV park here where I actually work as a work camper, and I work in the office 20 hours a week, and it's been really awesome.
Well, San Antonio is a great community for RVers because so many seniors end up relocating there. The climate is really good most of the year, except it'll be hot, miserable in another 4 or 5 weeks if it isn't already.
Right.
And something that just occurred to me, I've been reading a lot here lately where many companies, even smaller companies that you wouldn't think about, are starting to offer their part-time employees full-time benefits. So I don't know what kind of company you're doing the work camp for, but it'd be nice if maybe some of that would end up coming back to you as well. You just never know.
Yeah, never know.
Never know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Max.
Well, I try. So is there something that I should have asked you about that I forgot to?
Wow. I know we covered a lot, and definitely if anybody wants to connect with me, my website again, connectorcarol.com. And I don't just work with caregivers. Like I said earlier, I do have other clients, and I just, really feel in my heart of hearts to really help out those caregivers in the world. And I do a lot of pro bono work, so I have a certain amount of sessions a month that I can do. And, I'm about whatever it takes to help.
Yeah, I just thought of a question that I get asked quite often, and I think it would be a great question for you, and that is, have you always had this approach to your life that you're just going to do whatever it takes and anything's possible, or is that something that you discovered or rediscovered after your husband had his stroke?
I believe that I've had this my whole life because I've gone through a lot of other turmoil and traumas, and I have quite a colorful past of interesting people that have been in my life. And I just always wake up with a smile and know, wow, you know what? I woke up. Thank you very much. And I'm moving on. And, you know, it just, I look at life as just an incredible place and learning experience. And I take every situation as that, as a learning experience, and look at, wow, what can I learn from that situation?
Right, right. So,
Yeah.
and you know, here on What's Your Excuse, we love a good story. So do you have a couple of stories you could share with us of people who, of events like that that have happened in your life that have helped make you the person you are now dealing with all this?
Oh, wow. Where do I begin? Okay. I mean, I've got some
No,
colorful
it's fine.
stories. Oh, no.
It's fine. I come from a family of storytellers. I come from a business where when it rained or when people didn't show up, people retold old stories. So
Right.
I
Oh, absolutely.
enjoy a good one, and for the most part, I think that it's great that we live in a time where your story is more important than what you do or what you sell or what you can do for somebody. So I'd love to hear a couple
Absolutely.
of stories.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one of the stories that I guess I would really love to share is this spiritual journey that I've been on, because it, I believe, is something that I was really not connected to or lost connection to. Um, and this would have been about 8 years ago. And my life was going well with my husband, Bill, which happens to be my third husband. And the other two were abusive, and there was a little, you know, a lot of stuff there. But why I'm sharing this story is that I had everything with him. We're soulmates. We got together, and it was like everything turned to gold, and everything was great, and it I was very content, and I was in this space of, wow, this is what it feels like to be in that space of, you know, achieving those dreams and goals. I had a great, you know, 5-figure income job in the corporate world, and he had a construction company that was flourishing, and we just had everything. I mean, we had the house, the toys, we had all of the stuff, right? But
Yeah.
spiritually, we were not connected. And I mean, literally, it was like there was something, the universe, God was saying, hello, wake up. And my whole life turned into something so different. And I almost ran my car off the road one night as I was drinking and driving, mind you, which is really stupid. A little Miata convertible down about 100 miles an hour. And I just had that moment, that thought, not that I was going to do it, but I had that thought, which is really crazy to me. And the next morning, I sat back and I went, first off, what the heck were you thinking driving like that? Secondly, what were you thinking of thinking that? And then I came out of that space of judging myself for it, but then went to God and said, God, what is it that I'm here for? Because what I'm doing right now isn't working. I mean, I have a loving husband, a beautiful home, we have all this stuff, and yet I am miserable right now. What is it? What am I here for? I'm open and I'm listening. Wow. That question right there changed my whole life. I'm not kidding. It changed my whole life. So from that point, I've been on this spiritual journey, and we literally lost everything. And I know you hear these stories all the time from people that you go, really? Did that really happen? But I'm telling you, we are recovering from that because we really had to tap into that spiritual part of our being. Because if you don't have that well-balanced life, and that spiritual part is a huge piece of that, and we pushed it aside. Like Wayne Dyer says, ego is edging God out, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I truly know that that moment was my final moment of, wow, thank you for letting me see this, because we have been on an amazing journey. I am happy. I know that I'm loved. I love myself now, where before I think that I wasn't loving myself. There was so much judgment, and I've cleared that. And that's what I help people clear and move through.
Yeah, it seems like we have a real problem as human beings. It seems like we either have all the stuff and none of the spiritual, or all the spiritual and none of the stuff. So we really need to figure out some way to meet God more than halfway in the middle there.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because my business, when I first started this my being an entrepreneur after being laid off from the corporate world, it's
Right.
quite interesting. My very first, well, my email is actually BC, so it's Bill and Carol connected with balance, and I didn't even know that back then. That was in 2006, and so a couple years later is when this situation happened and this spiritual journey started. So I already knew it. It just hadn't manifested yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
we definitely are connected with balance now.
Right. One of my heroes, a guy named Eric Wymamir, who I never say or spell correctly, but he's a blind fellow who's traveled the world and climbed the seven summits around the globe. And he wrote what I think is one of the best books ever, not just because of what he included in it, but because of his title. And the book is called The Adversity Advantage. And
Mm.
and he's written several other books that are more entertaining, but that book is the one I always go back to, and it's the one I often will recommend if a host asks me, what is one book you would read? And it is because he talks so much in there about about this balanced life and the spiritual. One of my favorite chapters in there is learning how to pack light, and I'm sure that's something that you know a lot about.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you did decide to share that story with me, and I've really appreciated you having you on here with me. And I'm with Carol Pepini at connectorcarol.com, the caregiving road warrior. By the way,
Say that
what
three
is?
times, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. By the way, what is your husband's name?
My husband's name is Bill.
All right, because we have to
Yeah.
get him in here because without Bill, there really wouldn't be a much of a story, would there? I mean,
Right,
uh,
right.
yeah, yeah. So we have to get him in there, and I hope he's doing much better and continues to improve and get better and get stronger.
Oh,
Uh,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
and you told me about your first email address before people started calling me the blind blogger. I wasn't sure if this second website was something people were going to want to read, so I created one of those free WordPress accounts, and over there, you come up with whatever name you want. You don't have to worry about whether or not somebody's already claimed a domain name. You just have to find a name somebody else doesn't have. And my WordPress account domain was blind student and teacher. And
Wow.
to me, that was like, because for any really good coach, we spend about the same amount of time. Well, we probably in the early days we spend a lot more time learning than teaching, but eventually, it turns around and you become the person who's educating and inspiring other people. But that was the name that spoke to me, 3 years ago now. And since you mentioned your email address back then, I just thought maybe I'd share that with you.
Right. That is amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. But it's so true. I mean, we do know our path, but we're the ones that get in the way and mud it up, and take
Yeah.
the wrong turn or right?
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So is there one thing that you would like to leave the viewers/listeners with before we finish up?
Well, I would say just go for those dreams. I truly believe that anybody can get anything that they desire. Just ask the questions of the universe because it's our birthright to get whatever we ask for, and really truly believe and have faith that it will come.
That is so true. It is about
Mhm.
asking, whether it be asking your neighbor or somebody online or asking God and the universe. It is all about deciding what you want and asking for it. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for coming on the show. And of course, I've got to once again thank Jan Moore for getting us together, and she's great at doing that. And uh, I consider that her and Bill, like family, and hopefully me and you will be that way as we go forward. And just thanks again for doing this.
I hope so too, and I'm so honored to be with you today, Max. And once again, appreciate you and all your listeners out there as well. Just keep on going after those dreams, right? Catching those dreams.
Yep. That's what we got to do.
Right. All right. Thank you, Max.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I really. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with me once again on What's Your Excuse with my amazing guest, Carol Pepino. And I'm going to be keeping them in my prayers and wishing her and her husband all the best as they continue to travel around the country and share their message of being an active caregiver, connecting with your fellow human being, and going after your dreams by just jumping out there and doing it, taking your chances, making your mistakes, falling down, taking your ups, just so long as you keep moving forward towards that dream. I love talking to her, and I referenced Jan Moore, my good friend, a couple of times because she's definitely all about it's the mindset, it's what you bring into your life through prayer and meditation. And so I do hope that y'all will visit her page, connectorcarol.com. And if you don't want to or aren't able to help with their GoFundMe campaign, then please just share the link. Just click it and put it on Twitter or Facebook for them. It only takes one person to see a link like that, decide they want to help, and be able to take care of their needs of an RV that will be handicapped accessible as well as in much better overall mechanical condition. So I hope you will check out our website, connectorcarol.com. I appreciate you spending some time with me at theblindblogger.net. This is the What's Your Excuse show. On my website, you can find my books. You can also click the online publicity page. And over there, what I do is I help people get booked on the hottest podcasts, the most popular radio shows, submitting to the top blogs online as guest post contributors, and participating in news articles. And I do that to get other people exposure so that they can live their dreams by having a successful book, album, or film launch. Let's face it, if you're doing something creative, you have to start marketing and promoting and building that audience long before you ever start the creative process. Before you open up that first text document or click record on your MP3 player, you have to start thinking about who's going to buy it and how to reach them. I really believe in podcasts, radio shows, YouTube interviews, and all of the things online. So check out online publicity over at theblindblogger.net. And you can also look at my success stories page. Feel free to reach out to any of the people there and contact them about what service I've provided, what they think of it, and ask them anything. I am very confident in the work that I've done for them and continue to do, and would not be afraid at all for you to contact them. All right, I know y'all have lots of things you need to do or that you could be doing with your time. I appreciate you spending some of it with me. And at the advice of a few friends this week, I'm going to end this week by singing. Hope y'all like it. Until next week, though, thank you. God bless you, and take care out there. You know, a dream is like a river, ever changing as it flows. And a dream is just a vessel that must follow where it goes. Trying to learn from what's behind and never knowing what's in store makes each day a constant battle, or just to stay between the shore.